Well, hey friends, I am getting ready to do a little workout. I just did my exchange, so I am ready for action. I had an interesting phone call today, and I think nutritionists or dietitians will call and will talk about my diet, which is pretty carnivore. It just floors me that there's so much that people just don't understand about kidney disease or dialysis, which, I guess is just normal because, when you're on dialysis and you know all about it, but if you're not on dialysis, you don't really quite understand it. So, there's that, but I would think as a nutritionist or a dietitian and you're calling specifically people and you're getting to know them, then when you call them back, you would have more of an idea of their specific dietary needs. And so that the nutritionist will call you in like a couple weeks or something. And so then they call you and they ask you a whole bunch of questions about, do you eat dairy? Do you drink milk? What do you consider dairy? Yogurts, eggs, and then in that, do you eat those things? Stuff like that. It's a lot of questions about food itself. And when was the last time you had fruit or whatever the case may be? Because that's kind of my situation. Like, I just don't eat it enough. Or I should say I just don't eat it because I don't need it. And that's always a touchy subject because we were all brought up with the FDA telling us how we're supposed to eat, which is madness because they shouldn't have told us how we're supposed to eat. I mean, we've been eating carnivore for hundreds and thousands of years, and it's only been since, 1969, 70-ish, that processed food became super, super, shoved down our throats. And so it's just weird to have them continuously talk about what we should and should not be eating when it's very far from natural foods, which is just regular raw foods, basically. Not eating raw eggs, but definitely eating eggs versus eating cereal, So anyways, it's always very interesting, I would say, for conversation when it comes to foods, because I know that they have to say things like, well, you should be eating your vegetables, and yes, you should be eating your fruits, and here's options for really good bread, and I'm like, no, if it's not going to rot on the shelf, I'm not going to eat it. And it's really difficult. I told her it is really, really difficult to get away from the sugars in foods and the seed oils in foods. Donnie and I were just talking the other day about different varieties of recipes that we could eat with hot dogs, because we do eat hot dogs. Like the other night, it was so late at night and we were so hungry, and it was after a gig. So we typically go to QT, which is like Circle K, and we get hot dogs. Well, this is the first time that I actually went and I just put my hot dog. I felt kind of bad because I threw the bun away, but just one bun. And I got 2 hot dogs and put them in my container. And when I went to the register, I told him I have 2 hot dogs. And then I put mayonnaise and mustard and relish and all that on top of it. Which ketchup, by the way, is actually more like sugar water, so it's not really, you're not getting benefits of tomato or vegetable or fruit from ketchup. That's just not happening at all. And so it really is just a sugar water flavoring thing. So I just put a little touch on my hot dogs, but it was we were so hungry, so we got the hot dogs, and then hot dogs were on sale, and they're all beef, which is why we go to QT, because they're all beef hot dogs. And so when I was grocery shopping, I grabbed a package of Nathan's hot dogs, which are kosher. So I feel totally safe with that. And we were eating them just like we did at QT. But I was talking to Donnie because I was like, you know, it would be really good. I remember one of my fondest memories when I lived with my grandmother was that she would make hot dogs and she would cut up onion like really, really small, and also tomato really, really small. And she would cook up this tiny little miniature can of, I think it was probably Hormel. It may have not been Hormel, but basically chili. And we would put that on them, and it was really good. And so I was telling him about that, and he's like, we could probably make chili, because I started to look at the ingredients on the back of Hormel chilies, and then other brands. I don't remember the other brands, but anyway, so I was looking at them, and it's so crazy how much they put inside. Like, there's seed oils, there's sugars, there's preservatives in there that we should just not eat or ever consume, but it's a filler inside all kinds of foods. So long story short, I could not find a chili that had just beef and just chili flavorings. Now, I'm not done researching it, but then I thought, what about a chili seasoning packet? So I started to look at those. Do you know that there's sugar in that as well? Not only that, but some of them have like sunflower oil in them, which is, to me, is wild. Like, why would there be seed oils in the dry packet of seasoning for chili? It just doesn't make sense. So then I Googled how to make chili seasonings. So anyways, I figured out, you know, like, use chili seasoning, paprika, like garlic, like all this stuff, and that's just your chili stuff. So I told Donnie, I was like, oh, okay, so now I'll just cook a little bit of hamburger, because we don't eat beans, and make up my own chili seasoning, putting like the chili seasoning in that. So I told Donnie, oh, I'll just make my own chili seasonings and cook up some ground beef and then add that in, and then we could put that on top of our hot dogs and put cheese on top of that, and then with like maybe just a little touch of onion and tomato, maybe, or maybe not, but that would be great. Like, those would be chili dogs, and we can eat that without the bun, because that's the other thing. It's like, we don't eat the buns because the buns all have seed oils, except for Nature's Own butter, something like that, because it took me forever to find them, but Fry's carries them sometimes, and so I found them and we ate them and it was fine, but I feel like it's not necessary. Like, the benefits of it wasn't anything grand, except for that you weren't getting seed oils, so it wasn't like you were getting extra nutrients outside of just not eating it. So that was something we kind of learned, and we're continuously learning this, because it's really hard to shop for groceries when you're on a strict budget, but also when you're trying to avoid seed oils and sugar, because those forms don't always have to say sugar. Like, we all know, like, basically if you see fructose corn syrup, that's sugar. But other preservatives that are just really terrible for your body, which are the fillers in food to preserve the food, is all in the food. And so it's just really rough. And so really, if you don't shop inside the supermarket and you shop on the outside, typically is a lot better. We don't typically buy too much fruits and vegetables, although I did get a pomegranate, because I do love pomegranate, like the fruit, so I'm going to be picking out those seeds and eating them. And I ended up getting a pear, because I'm going to have Charlie tomorrow, and I figured he typically eats those little it's not a Lunchable, but it's kind of like that. So it'll have maybe some pretzels and then some little sausages. I think the one I got him has apple, and it also has these little tiny cookies, which it's hard. It's hard to feed Charlie because he's very picky, and he eats a lot of that kind of stuff at home and at daycare. And so when he comes to me, it's not like I can't cook for him, but he's not really going to eat it, whatever I cook for him. I haven't really found anything that would cross over yet, because he doesn't like chicken nuggets, and he'll kind of eat a burger, but not really. So it's like, things like that where it's like he might have one bite, but I don't want to waste it, which I typically will then give the rest to Smokey, which it's kind of like, because I've already eaten my lunch, it's just chaos. It's just chaos. So anyways, that's kind of my thing right now, is I am exploring ingredients packages, and I'm exploring what is in our food. So today I had a phone call from a place called Food Smart, and they are a company, and I believe they're connected to Banner. They're like nutritionists that call you and they want to ask you 1,000 questions about what you're eating and kind of why and stuff like that. Mine is really easy and fast, my appointment, because I'm mostly just carnivore, and so I don't typically eat all the other stuff. But it's an interesting program because they also give you like a gift card for food somehow. It links to Instacart somehow. I don't really understand that part, but I did it, and they call me like 2 or 3 times just to check in, and then you're gifted this certificate of coupon or something. I don't know. Anyways, the lady's really nice, and we have some really good conversations about food. But what I find interesting is that they're calling to pinpoint, in a lot of ways, me because of the kidney disease, but they're not real informed on the kidney disease diet. So once again, it's like I'm talking with them about food, but also it's hard because I have to be really super respectful, because I know that they've had some sort of training or they went to school, but they've also been duped in thinking that we need to eat all this fruits and vegetables and all this other stuff, when realistically we don't. So, one of the things she said was like, you should eat more fiber. And I'm like, I have no issues with fiber. I eat carnivore and I'm perfectly great. Like, I don't have any stomach issues whatsoever. And so, it's just kind of interesting things like that our conversations get to. But I've really been looking at the back of packages of things, or just simple things, to see what's actually in the food, to make sure that we are trying to avoid as much as possible seed oils and definitely sugar. But those seed oils just are everywhere. It's crazy. So I don't know. Anyways, so that's what I've been up to. Drink your water. Hope everybody's doing good out there. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.